Hi there everyone. Now if you're a regular viewer of my videos, you'll know that I love taking landscape images with any camera, whether it be my DSLR, a mirrorless camera, or even my iPhone. But there's one camera, right there, keys. But there's one camera that I have with me on most of these trips when I go out that gives me a completely different perspective than all the other cameras that I have with me. And that's my Mavic Pro. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a website, a domain, or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Drones are getting cheaper and more accessible every day. Now, I originally bought my Mavic Pro basically for the footage. I wanted to be able to grab a different perspective of the location and to be able to add a little bit more richness and context to the videos that I'm creating here on YouTube. But it didn't take me too long to realise the power that DJI packed into such a small package. So in this video, I'm going to take you through how I take landscape images with my Mavic Pro. So out of all the choices that were available when I bought my drone, I went with the Mavic Pro simply because I think it was the sweet spot between image quality and portability. And as important as image quality is, when it comes to my drone, portability is probably more important. Because of its foldable design and it's so tiny and light, I'm able to fit it into my camera bag, which means that it goes with me on most trips. If it was any heavier, I wouldn't take it with me and I'd get no use out of it at all. As I mentioned before, the advantage that the drone has over any other camera that I might have in my hand is the ease at which I can get it up in the air. This opens up other dimensions for storytelling. It gives me different angles on the landscape and opens up a whole range of new compositions for me. Speaking of compositions, I have more freedom when I'm trying to position the camera because I can move the drone around anywhere. I'm not restricted by cliffs or hills that might be in the way or a lack of access through the bush to a position that I want to take the image from. Now before we get going, one tip that I have when you're using your drone for photography is to have plenty of spare batteries. I'll sometimes use one battery just to scout around an area and line up what I think is going to be a good composition. Then I'll check the level of the battery, and if it's getting low, I'll bring the drone down, I'll swap out batteries and then take off again. This way I'm not rushed, because there's nothing worse than feeling rushed when you're trying to work out your composition and camera settings and you're wanting to take that shot before your battery runs out. So I always try and have plenty of power left in the battery before I start taking my photos. So when it comes to positioning your drone or angling the camera, there's really two schools of thought, and I love using both approaches. One is the bird's eye view. That's where the camera is pointing straight down on the ground. You're taking full advantage of that unique perspective. You can get some really strong compositions with both curved and straight lines in your image. I typically look for contrasts in pattern, colour and texture when I'm trying to create my composition. Or sometimes I go for a simpler image by isolating my subject. Then there's the more traditional angle, providing an elevated view of your landscape with a little bit of sky just in the top of your image. I use this to highlight the vastness of the scene, giving lots of depth to the final image. Before we get going, let's just check our settings to make sure that we've got the best image quality. I have my image set to 4:3 for the greatest resolution possible. This gives me the option to crop a little if I need to. I always shoot in manual mode. ISO should be at 100 for maximum image quality. I also like to shoot in RAW, and DJI give us this option under image format. Shooting in RAW gives me the greatest amount of flexibility when editing in post. The rest of the settings don't affect raw images, so don't worry about them. I like to use the histogram to monitor my exposure while I'm taking an image. To display that, go to Settings, and it's the top option. While you're here, if you want to, turn on the grid lines to help with composition. With those settings done, we're ready to go and capture our image. So I've come down to Sugarloaf Rock. I've shot this area lots of times before. I've done a video on it a couple of years ago. I'll link it up here and in the description below. What I love about this area is there's lots of different compositions that you can find. So I've come down to try and take 2 shots with the drone. One of Sugarloaf Rock itself, which is in the background right there, and then another of the cliff to the north of Sugarloaf Rock. And hopefully the light is on my side here. There are a few clouds, but that soft light is actually going to help me with the dynamic range. Of course, with the smaller sensor of the Mavic Pro, 12 megapixels, dynamic range is where it's limited. But you've just got to know how to work through those limitations. A great way is by bracketing your shot using the auto exposure bracketing that's available to you. Right, I just need to find a flat area to take off from. The sun is on my right hand side, so I'm going to try and take that out of the image. You can see that my horizon is not straight, so what I'm going to do there is go into settings, adjust the gimbal and just rotate that a little bit to the left just to make sure that it's nice and straight. I'm happy with that. Okay, let's just bring down the gimbal to there, that's nice. You can see how I have complete flexibility of going left and right. So if I move to that side, and just move around a little bit. So I'm just moving slightly to the right here. Obviously, Sugarloaf Rock, which is that triangular looking rock in the middle, is going to be my main subject. But I just want to have a little bit of rock anchoring the left-hand side as well. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to make sure that I am focused on Sugarloaf Rock. And let's just flick over now. Let's stop the video and let's flick over to the camera settings. Quite happy with that. Just making sure that Sugarloaf is in the middle. I can decrease my shutter. Sorry, I'm decreasing the exposure. I'm slowing down the shutter just to make sure that I'm protecting my highlights on the left-hand side of the histogram there. So I'm going to go into my settings. I'm going to hit photo and I'm going to go down to the auto exposure bracketing and I'm going to take 5 shots, and then it's just a case of hitting the shutter and it goes and takes those 5 shots. It's as simple as that. Now what that does is takes a shot at the exposure that I specified and also 2 shots underexposed and 2 shots overexposed. I'll be able to have a look at them in Lightroom, select the best one or the most appropriately exposed shots and then merge them together in Lightroom. Excellent. I'll swap the batteries out and we'll go up to the coast. The light is looking stunning across the coast, so let's do that. I've just walked a short distance down, and as you can see from the rocks, it's fairly difficult to walk along the coast here. One of the advantages, of course, of the drone is I've only got to walk a short distance and then I can fly the drone the rest of the way and get to the location that I want. The area that I'm going to take this shot at is fairly difficult to get at. There's no paths there. The cliffs are on both sides, so it just makes it a real challenge. I've taken shots before from the cliff, but I just want to get a little bit further to see some of these waves come in. It'll be interesting to see what sort of image I can get this afternoon with the drone. Right, new battery. Let's go. The sun hasn't lit up those cliffs, and if hopefully the sun comes out from behind the clouds just as it starts to set, and we might get a little bit of light on the cliffs. It's just starting to come out now. I can see with the naked eye those cliffs starting to get a little bit brighter. I can't see too much on the screen here. It looks pretty dark. There we go. I've moved the shutter now to 200. Okay, out comes the sun. I can certainly feel it on my face. I can see the rocks in the foreground just here starting to light up, but it hasn't lit up that cliff just yet. What I might do is just use this time to get into a slightly different position. All right, I'm happy with that now. All I need is the light to do the right thing. Come on, sun. There we go. Now it's starting to light up the cliffs further up the coast. Just need it to land on these rocks just in the foreground here, and I think it's doing that right now. Beautiful. Let's take that shot now. Going to go a little bit higher now, just to get a little bit more elevation. So I'm at the maximum height now. Just going to come back a little bit. Just to make sure that the main part of those cliffs are in the shot. Plenty of space around that and the edge of the image. And take 5 shots now. Lovely. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate their ongoing support for the channel. They provide an easy to use website building platform that I can genuinely recommend because I've been using Squarespace for my own websites for years. I love how I don't have to worry about any of the technical work associated with building or hosting a website. Updates are just taken care of automatically, so all I have to do is focus on the content I want to share. You can start your free trial at squarespace.com. If you do check them out and you want to go ahead with your website, go to squarespace.com/Andrew Marr to get 10% off your first purchase. So that's it. As the sun is setting, it's looking absolutely gorgeous. I'd love to know whether you take images with your drone. Please share that in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, please check out some of my other videos and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload my next video. But until next time guys, thanks very much for watching.